You know that feeling when you're trying to tell someone how big something is and it just comes out totally wrong? Well, today we're going to dig into how we take a bunch of simple numbers from measuring things and turn them into stories that actually make sense. So, let's kick things off with a classic little story. It's about a king who wants to build his queen the perfect surprise for her birthday. A brand new bed. Super sweet idea, right? But as you're about to see, a tiny little mix-up in measurement is going to cause a huge problem. So the king, he measures the bed himself. He just uses his own feet, one after the other. He tells his apprentice, make it 6 feet long. Simple enough. But when the queen finally gets her gift, it's tiny, like she can't even fit in it. So what on earth went wrong here? Okay, so here's the thing. The problem wasn't the number 6, it was the word foot. See, the king's foot was way bigger than the apprentice's foot, and that simple, kind of funny mistake actually shows us something super important, why we absolutely need a standard for how we measure things. I mean, look at this. You've got two completely different ideas of what 1 foot is, both being used on the same project. When your so-called standard isn't standard at all, you just get chaos. It's a total breakdown in communication. And yeah, you get a bed that's maybe perfect for a cat, but definitely not for a queen. This is exactly why we need a standard unit that everyone agrees on. Something like an inch. An inch has to mean the exact same thing for the king, for the apprentice, for you, and for me. No more confusion. Okay, so standard units, like the inch, solve that first big problem. Awesome. But, it kind of creates a new puzzle. In the real world, things are rarely a perfect whole number of inches. So what do you do with all those little bits and pieces that fall in between the inch marks? Just take a look at these two rulers here. If you had to measure something really carefully, which one would you pick? It's going to be the one on the right? All those extra little marks, they let us be so much more precise. And they're not just random lines, they're fractions of an inch, which let us nail down those in-between measurements. And if we want to get data that's actually useful, we need that kind of precision. On this ruler, for example, every single inch is broken down into 8 equal parts. This means we can measure stuff accurately, right down to 1/8 of an inch. And trust me, that is so important if you're trying to build anything right. All right, let's circle back to our poor queen and her tiny bed, but this time let's use our new tools. To build a bed that's actually perfect for her, we need data. So instead of just one person's foot, what if we measured the shoe lengths of a whole bunch of people to get a better idea? Let's see what that would look like. Okay, so we did it. We've measured a ton of shoes. We have our data. But oh boy, in solving one problem, it looks like we've created a new one. What we have now is just a long, messy, confusing list of numbers. I mean, just look at this. It's a total jumble of fractions and whole numbers. Staring at this list, can you tell me what the most common shoe size is? It's really tough, right? You can't really see the story that these numbers are trying to tell. So, what's the fix? How do we take this total mess of numbers and organize it into something, useful, something clear? Well, the answer is a really cool and powerful tool called a dot plot. It's basically a data organizer, and it's built for exactly this job, taking a chaotic list of numbers and turning it into a simple picture, a story that our brains can get right away. And making one is actually super simple. It's just 3 steps. First, you draw a number line that covers all your data, from the smallest number to the biggest. Second, you just go through your list, one number at a time. And third, for every single number, you put an X or a dot right above its spot on the line. That's it. And this is where the magic happens. All of a sudden, that messy, random list becomes a clear picture. You don't have to search for the patterns anymore. They just jump right out at you. Now the data is finally telling its story. And you can see everything in a single glance. The tallest stack of X's, that's your most common measurement. You can see the smallest and the largest values, which gives you the range of your data. You can even see the empty spots, the gaps where you didn't have any data at all. It's all right there. And look, this whole process isn't just for fixing problems in fairy tales. This method, asking a question, getting precise measurements, and then making a picture of the data, it's a basic way that anyone can answer real questions about the world around them. For instance, you might see a book like this one, Actual Size, and it gets you curious about, well, how big things really are. And that curiosity can lead to a great real-world investigation, like, what's the typical arm span for kids my age? Check this out. Here's some real data from a study on student arm spans in Canada.
And just like you'd probably guess, you can see a really clear pattern. As kids get older, from 9 to 12, their average arm span gets bigger and bigger. And this is where it gets really fun, because you can be the researcher. You could go out and measure the arm spans of your friends or your family, make your very own dot plot, and see what kind of story your group's data tells. How cool is that? So let's just pull this all together. We started with a pretty simple problem, right? A bed that was way too small. And we ended up with this powerful method for making sense of data. We learned how to ask a question, measure things carefully, and then use a dot plot to find the story hidden in the numbers.
And really, that's the most important thing to remember. This whole process, ask, measure, plot, and then figure out what it means, that's how we turn just being curious about something into actually knowing something. That dot plot is the key to seeing the story. At the end of the day, this is why measuring stuff matters so much. Being able to gather your own data and make a picture of it, it's kind of like a superpower. It lets you answer your own questions about the world. So the only real question left is, what are you going to measure first?